Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum podcast. My name is Citizen Strife, and I'm running back more anime stuff to talk about. And nice thing is, this update, I finally get to talk about sequel shows this season, along with some stuff that I've picked up along the way. Obviously, the shows that I was looking forward to the most when it was announced was Apothecary Diaries Season 2. And it makes sense because I loved Apothecary Diaries so much last year. I already did a review of it, but I was like, I want more of it. Mao Mao is so great. And I've only gotten to a couple episodes of this season so far, but Mao Mao is still great. Zenshu is still great. What I'm noticing is a lot of references and callbacks to the original season, but trying to foster a thing of, okay, we've got some new ladies in waiting. We're trying to introduce that other concubine that still doesn't really talk at all, is like a political marriage thing and whatever. It doesn't matter much, really. They're setting stuff up, but all that lady's really doing is just sitting on her chair being dumb, right? So I'm like, okay, you want to do something, you could do it. They're also doing a caravan, so they're introducing foreign characters. And again, I'm a couple episodes behind. As usual, before I get too ahead of myself, I'm only watching dubbed episodes, so I might be a couple episodes or a couple weeks behind everybody else. Spoiler warning, obviously, if you haven't caught up on these up to the point that I'm discussing, but I'm going to try and keep it vague as best I can to an extent. But if I do veer into spoilers, I do. And, just keep it not as gospel. This is just opinions, because opinions are opinions, and opinions are hard to deal with sometimes. I know, but fair enough. And the thing with Apothecary is that they're building things as things go. So even if I'm frustrated now, I'm sure it'll pay off later. The show has too much going for it that just one little reference to characters here and there is not going to matter. I'm curious what the foreign envoys and those characters are going to be like, because this is so kind of based in older feudal China, feudal Japan, feudal Korea-esque iconography. I'm curious what the foreign envoys are going to be like, and how Mao Mao is going to interact with them, because you just know she's going to. The fact that she's going around sniffing people already is kind of yep, we're back where we were. This is great. I love this. Finding ways to go about her ways, doing weird shit, and getting away with it. So, not much plot-wise, but it doesn't really matter because it's all about Mao Mao. And as long as she's doing weird shit every episode, that's fine with me. Let's see. This one I haven't ever talked about, but I liked the first season and I liked the second, and it actually reflects a show that I drop later. The show is My Happy Marriage, and my friend Lee and I have been watching it for a while now. We're also watching Apothecary as well, but we started with My Happy Marriage, and we got to the second season, and we've been watching it, via Netflix concurrently as the episodes drop. And the thing about it is that normally I would not really like characters like Mio. I really don't. I've said this about characters like Shy, Mio, anyone really squirrely, and I'll talk about it again with Honey Lemon Soda. Any girl or any dude who just is very squirrely and they don't have anything going for them, I don't really respond to and resonate with. The difference here is that there's so much else about the show that ends up working, that she builds as it goes, and she as a character grows. Spoiler for the first season, her sister's a bitch, her family's a bitch. She's basically downtrodden in that Cinderella state of, I'm just a servant girl, nobody likes me, all that shit. But she gets picked because of her bloodline of, dubious, interesting powers of being able to enter dreams and affect the world in a dreamlike state, because you get like supernatural powers, you get grotesqueries, which are demons and other weird shit going on. So she gets pawned off to somebody who hasn't really had the best view of suitors and shit, a different bloodline, but Master Kudo, who basically is like super powered and shit, but he runs a military ops organization. So he's trying to destroy grotesqueries, and that's part of the show, but the main part of the show is them interacting as new husband, new wife situation, and she actually grows fond of him and he grows fond of her. But then you have other relationships that develop over the season, specifically with Kudo's sister, which is great. Into season 2, you're getting Mio starting to break out of her shell. Her family is exposed as the assholes that they are and just left for whatever. We haven't seen them since, but yeah, they're fucking assholes. So we develop more of what Mio's powers are. They're starting to introduce these villains called the Gifted Communion, which have their own powers and turn people into grotesqueries and things. So Mio is starting to see more of Kudo's military organization, seeing more of her family. And speaking of bitches, like her mother-in-law just, Kudo's mom is a complete asshole to the nth degree and doesn't respect Mio at all, doesn't want to have her in the family, doesn't think she's qualified, that sort of bullshit. Even though, the one who runs the family, the father, completely taken with her. And again, Mio shows a lot more initiative as seasons go on, but she does still have that very kind of meek and interesting personality. The benefit, though, as the season 2 is going on, is she's able to interact more with other people, and there's this weird sense of misogyny, because this is a period piece in, I would say, in like 1900s Japan. That'd be my guess, like 1800s, 1900s Japanish. I don't know the specific date, but they run with misogyny. Oh my fucking god, are they running rampant with misogyny? And it's coming to a head. So these soldiers are like, what is she doing here? Why are you here? This is not where a woman should be. They legitimately, these women should be where they should be. And like that. They bring that up because another woman who is awesome, Karuko Jinochi, is assigned as Mio's bodyguard. And she just kicks the shit out of some other dude in a kendo match. And that dude doesn't like it. Well, fuck him, because Karuko is neat. And because I like female characters who are strong and who are expected to, hold the line and do things like that. So it is a nice balance. And Mio and Karuko become friends, and their relationship is budding at time of recording. And it's nice that like Mio herself has a friendship that isn't a family member of Kudo's. Now she's involved in a way, but it's a separate thing. And I think that's important for the show to work, is that Mio herself has to have agency. And it's finally starting to show itself that she wants to be friends with somebody. She is trying to make an effort. And anybody introduced has more than, I'm just here because I'm supposed to be. No, they want to be together, and it works. Because we already know the main relationship, and that's fine and all. And that's the main crux of the show, other than the Gifted Communion and the grotesquerie stuff as the action set pieces. But the drama stuff is important too, because it builds the character, it builds all the characters for it to actually matter that stuff is happening to them, which is good. I like that there are characters that aren't part of the Kudo or Usuba family and all that stuff that have agency in the show, and I think that's good. The last sequel show that I'm going to talk about, because Natsume's Book of Friends, I think I haven't gotten to another episode yet, but Toilet Bound Hanako-kun Season 2, otherwise known as After School Hanako-kun. But I talked about the kind of like side series stuff they were doing before the season started, but Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, as weird as the name implies, I've been kind of wanting to talk about that one for a while. I just never did it. I was like, it was one of those like, am I going to do this for Halloween? No, I forgot it. Just didn't do it. But I like it a lot. It's got a unique look and feel to it. It's got that weird ghostly vibe, the supernatural stuff in there. I'm a sucker for that stuff with like Halak and Mushishi and, any like yokai stuff, Kimono Jihen, for example. This is a different take on that, more comedic. This is about Nene Yashiro dealing with a kid in a toilet. And, no, just a kid who lives in a bathroom because he's a dead kid. He's a dead spirit, and their whole thing is that as she's in school, she and some other friends are dealing with Hanako, and they're dealing with what are known as the Wonders, as he himself is one of them. So he is, kind of guiding them, helping them, whatever, with his powers to deal with other things. Crazy lady from the staircase. There's the spider dude who's a teacher for a class and whatever. There's a weird fucking tree. There's a mermaid lady who curses Yashiro. There's other weird stuff going on in the first season. The second season, only a couple episodes in for me, but they're talking about the clock keepers. Kind of a take on the arbiters of fate or the ringers of fate in the sisters of fate in Greek mythology. Excuse me. But the idea of someone can rewind the past, somebody can stop time, somebody can go faster. So it's a take off of that, a different version of that sort of scenario. One of them escapes and is messing with the school and turning everything into old things or destroyed things or whatever, and you have to catch them. But one of the students has been found out. Hanako found out that one of them was one of the keepers. So they have to kind of lie themselves to chase after the other one. And it gets resolved at time of recording, but I did find it kind of interesting that you could introduce a character that was really just there in season 1 and finally find a use for them. And as stated, I don't think there's a lot of stakes to this show. It's not meant to. It's meant to be more comedic than anything else. It's meant to just have this like unique art style, very pink, very like popish color scheme, pinks and bright colors, pastel colors, in contrast to some darker horrific colors and a lot of other things. The animation is very slow and deliberate, pacing wise, because it's meant to be kind of creepy and off-putting, but I do really enjoy it, and it's one I've wanted to talk about for a while. I think I'll do a review of it in full eventually, probably for a Halloween somewhere, maybe this year, I don't know. Watch me forget. As far as the old standards, Zenshu, still the best show of the new batch, because Natsuko is great. As for this week, I'm trying to remember. Did I talk about? I don't think I. No, I didn't. I didn't talk about last week's episode because it felt like they were going to do a whole like, this is a season-ending arc. We're going to build up a character and then have it fester and fester and fester, and then they're just like, nope, we'll do it in the episode and call it done. And I kind of like that, because then there's more that you can do and more you can introduce still as an episodic stupid shit. And the idea here with last week's episode going into this week of recording was Natsuko's getting full of herself and is trying to do everything for herself. She thinks that her power is infallible, so we're playing off that thing. But we're also seeing that she has, she can play with orphans well, play with kids pretty well and show off cool stuff and help them, or deal with this downtrodden person who used to be part of the Braveheart Party, the 9 soldiers, and then wasn't anymore. So she still had a bit of a human side to her, but you could tell that the power had gotten to her head and she thought she could destroy a monster. Turns out at the end of this episode, she finally fights something that got rid of her. So now what? Is this just going to be one more episode and she learns the power of friendship conquers all? I'm guessing that's what they're going to do. But, you're close to halfway to the end of the season, and it's like, all right, finally find something that she can't just beat episode of the week thing. It's kind of neat. Allows for a few more things that the city because this is the last city of sorts. And what are the voids? And what is her past life? Like, how do you interact with that? Because there is still that, like, lingering, well, are you going to talk about what she was when, she was an animator, not when she was just this soldier lady with powers, So they're bringing that back here and there just to inform the narrative of her hubris, which is a good feature, because if she was perfect in every single way, the show would probably just get boring after a while. But it's still my favorite. Sakamoto Days. They went to an amusement park and they fought some stuff because now Sakamoto's been outed, and he told them, "Stay away from me. I've got a family. Don't fight me." Mobster said no. they're fucking assholes. They're bad guys. They're gonna go after him and for bounty. So several different people try to go after him. This dude with like poison knives and shit tries to interrupt the show. So one of them has to fight him on a moving roller coaster. So they fall off the roller coaster, and then they fight in a kids show. Then this episode is this guy who used to look up to Sakamoto and then doesn't, but then there's this lady who is like infatuated with the dude, sort of not infatuated with the dude, not Sakamoto, but the person she's with, and she's got this like weird tinge to her attitude and shit, but the other guy has these like weird codes that he's doing, so he builds these like cool powers, or what he thinks are cool powers, and everybody thinks he's just a fucking dope. So he fights Sakamoto in this haunted house looking place while everybody else is separated. So they cordon off Zhao Tong with the family and the lady. And then the dude who looked up to Sakamoto is going after him with these like rocket fists and these weird explosive, literally explosive balls. I know that sounds weird, but that's exactly what it is. These fists that shoot off rocket powered balls, and shit like that. And then Sakamoto's just like, at the end of the episode, all right, fuck you, I'm done. So the cliffhanger was, all right, I'm going to kick your ass. So that was the cliffhanger. Storyline wise, there's not much. It's Sakamoto trying to keep his family life going with these new co-workers and people that know him, but it's like, I'm not expecting, high art from this. I'm not expecting, because it's not played for drama. This is played pure comedy, so it's supposed to be outlandish. It's supposed to be weird. I know some people have dropped it because they say they're going to cut corners or cut content. I'm sitting here going, I don't know what content they're cutting, so I'm not going to know it even if I saw it. So I'm like, whatever. They do this stuff all the time. Sometimes you can't get every single thing of every single page of every single book on every single frame of animation. I just know that. It's fine. I went through a sentence of a bookworm that basically just time skipped everything important. I can live with stuff like that. Everybody else can be different. Let's see. Demon Lord 2099 is still hanging around, and only got like one more episode left after this, and I'm kind of glad, because it still has this tendency when the shit hits the fan to try to race through the stuff, because I was enjoying it when they weren't doing anything. I was enjoying it when they were talking about Hizuki as a character and her relationships and how you're going to do all these things. But then they're trying to kind of shoehorn this character that I don't remember I ever saw, or if I did, I barely remember her, and then try to just justify her explanation like near the end of it. Like if you've ever seen that in a video game where they're like, I was the master all along and I done the thing and I did this and I planned this, and like if I saw her, I don't remember her, and that's not a good thing. And I'm like, okay, so you were scheming from behind the scenes, but I never saw you. Your plan was to do what now? And like, and then they try to do the word salad and try to refresh everything in like 30 seconds to a minute so that you're caught up. I'm like, damn it, could you have done this sooner? Could you have had that going sooner? So it moved way too fast because it knew it had to end the season. I'm like, you didn't have to do that. You could have spent a little, I had this problem with one of the fights in the episodes earlier, was this lady who just kept talking about the same stupid crap. And I'm like, you're bogging down the action scene with a lot of word garbage. I don't need this. So anytime the show is trying to say something plot-wise, sometimes it's too fast. They either move too slow or they move too fast. And I still like it, but I'm like, dude, you're better than this. Or at least I think you are. So it came out of left field for me. And it's just like, all right, I'm kind of glad this is over. I'm still liking it, but I'm, bit chintzy, I guess. What's not so chintzy is Ameku MD, Doctor Detective. She's still just the linchpin of this show. The episode this week was about these curses that have been happening and how all these weird things have been going on. And they do a cliffhanger later, so they're not quite done yet. But Takao and Kotori are exploring this like archaeologist and this professor who try to find this tomb of this Onmyoji. I remember seeing Abeno Seimei and other characters from like, oh god, what was it? Abeno Bashi? That's like 20 freaking years ago at this rate. They don't really do a lot of Onmyoji stuff. Every once in a while they will, and I haven't really watched a bunch. But they did like a cool history lesson on the idea of Onmyoji, what was sealed in their tomb, and the idea for this was anyone who disturbs the tomb of Endo gets cursed. So Takao investigates it and then takes these samples and finds out, no, it's not some fucking curse. It's just this weird fungus, It works like a Sherlock Holmes thing. She answers things faster than anybody else does. But what's nice, again, is the interaction between her and Kotori as characters, because he is the straight man to her weirdness. She has just this knowledge of everything in her head ever, and kind of knows it, and kind of knows how to just diagnose everything. She is Sherlock. That's her thing. That's what the show is kind of like. So it's like, how does she explain what's going on to people? And then trying to observe, but also break hospital etiquette and doctrine too. So it's like, skirting every single line and every single piece of red tape there is, because she does still care, but only to a point. So it's like, yay, there we go. I think I like this one a lot, and I don't know if I like it as much as Sakamoto Days, but it's kind of veering towards it because it's its own thing. And I think that this character is stronger than Sakamoto, because as much as I like Sakamoto and the fight scenes, I don't know if I like it like as a pure package, because this doctor detective thing is such a unique thing, even if it is traipsing on Sherlock Holmes a bit because of the doctor setup. I know most of the stuff they're talking about because I've been in like anatomy courses and other things, as I mentioned before. So this kind of like, oh, I've heard of all of this stuff. Or at least I have a knowledge base around it. So I'm getting more out of this than I would a normal detective show. And it also helps that it's grounded with this character that is just, I am a sucker for a main character who has charisma. And Takao has it for days. Let's see. Guild Receptionist. This one is alright, but... it's the line of, I'm going to drop you, but I'm not going to drop you yet. The thing is that if it weren't for the guild receptionist stuff and the way that the main character deals with her day-to-day life, I don't think I'd like the show at all. Because it really just does basic adventuring bullshit, but from the guise of somebody who just wants overtime. But the problem is, and this is something I'm noticing, and this is the problem with a lot of like weaker shows, and I'll get to this with other things that I've dropped, is when you start overusing your tropes and you start overusing your cliches, like almost all of the female leads dialogue is, I just want a break. I just don't want to have overtime. I don't want to work overtime. I don't want to work again. It's getting to the point where unless there's something else that she has, a lot of the stuff that really engages me is the fact that she's bitching out customers. and bitching out other people, because I deal with that on a daily basis as a person who greets people for a living. People at registers have to deal with that even worse. So it's like, there's a reason that I like this show. It's because I live this sort of weirdness every day. And this is kind of speaking to me. Anytime that they're overdoing that, though, or anytime they're focusing on, hey, I can kill a person in a second, it shows its lack of creativity. And I'm not done yet, but I know that this is kind of my junk food, and it's gonna stay that way. So it's teetering that line of, I like you, but I don't like you. So, but I have dropped other things that debuted, and let's see, these were two more that either debuted or I dumped yesterday, in fact. Last week, there was a show, oh god, I can't remember the name of it all the way, but it's I left my A-rank party to teach my students the whatever to do. It's one of those I was banished from my party shows. They've been doing that every couple, like every season for the last little while, and here comes an ambulance. All right, it went away. So it's another one of those. I left my party to whatever and do the thing, and this dude is like, I'm some alchemist dude, or I'm some support mage, whatever, and I can do this thing, but you don't trust me, and I'm not getting any money, so whatever. And then, like, it's very matter of fact, and I complained about this with Guild Receptionist, was when a show is pretty bad, it just says everything matter of factly, and the characters do not feel like characters. They feel like they're explaining who they are to you rather than actually being a character with their dialogue. Like, every piece of their dialogue is so basic and so boring that it's trying to justify that they exist rather than, oh, I have something worth saying. So it's like telling you, hey, I'm a whatever, and I do the thing, and like, oh, we're doing this thing with our students, and 5 minutes dead, whatever. It's dumb. I gave it up. This was one that I wasn't so keen on. This next one that I dumped, and I liked it early, but I also knew that I was worried, and it was Honey Lemon Soda. I got into episode 3 yesterday, and I realized that everything that I could get from the show, I got better in My Happy Marriage. And I don't think I've ever seen this, where I've dumped a show that I was watching because I already was watching something else that reminded me of it, but did it better. Now, to be fair, My Happy Marriage has different setting, different character structure, different relationships, whole different action sequences, all this thing. Honey Lemon Soda is just a school drama, but therein lies the problem. You're basically taking another squirrely character, because this girl is so bullied, she's considered, her nickname is Stony, and she's like, oh my god, I have a friend, oh my god, I have a boyfriend, or I'm happy. I'm like, it's one of you, isn't it? Oh my god, we're doing this. It's a slice of life about a girl who has relationship problems. Oh boy. I'm like, I already deal with a squirrely girl called Mio, who I like a lot more than you, dealing with an older dude who's a lot better than the other dude in this. The one thing I will say is the other dude has this like mechanism where if you want something, you have to say it. Kudo is more like unsure of himself. This other guy in Honey Lemon Soda is a little more just abrasive. But other than the other like fun characters, there's nothing to really gravitate to. When the fact that the main character is just so squirrely, so like, oh my god, I've never had a friend, or I'm like all of it is just, oh, I'm gonna make friends. Oh, I'm gonna be friends with you. Oh, can I sit with you? You can see why I'm just sitting here going, I don't need this. Like, I don't hate it, but I could see myself hating it as things develop. And I'm just like, where is the fun in this? I could get this in every other show ever, and I've seen these tropes done all the fucking time. At least with My Happy Marriage, I have a unique period piece setting. I have unique relationships that have been developing in a very subtly cruel way. I've got these like grotesquerie things, so it has an action set piece that happens more often. I'm just more inclined to watch something I already know that I'm getting the feel for. So it was a weird thing that I was just like, I don't need this show. I don't hate it, but I don't want to watch it either. So I was already on the fence anyway, and then as soon as I was just like, I do not want to watch this, it dawned on me that I was just like, whatever. So was it as bad as the other ones I dropped? No, it was probably the best one that I stuck with, but I'm just like, I don't need you. And when you consider that I have like 5 or 10 shows that I'm still sticking with, which is a lot more than last season, I'm still like, let me stick with these because I know that I'm going to like and enjoy them for the most part. You know, a couple are still on the fence like Guild Receptionist, but by and large, I have so many that I'm interested in. But that'll do for this roundup of this, 2 weeks. Let me see what we've got as far as things to go on. Next week, I've got a little bit of a different situation here. I didn't have enough for a full like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, which has been my kind of standard. So I recorded 2 episodes in one. So the first episode is Goldman Boy, which was like 10 minutes. And then Spice and Wolf 2024, which was about 15 or 20. So I was like, hooray, that'll work. So 2 episodes for the price of 1 next week. Persona 5 Strikers in March. Makene, Too Many Losing Heroines. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, which I hope I finish. I mean, I'm going to finish by then, but, it'll be like, yay, I'd like to finish it. Going into April, I'm going to be talking about Inspector. Another kind of pseudo-detective show, but in that yokai and other cool sense. All that stuff I really enjoy. I've been meaning to talk about that one. I just haven't, put that on my list for the longest time, but I'll get to it in April. So this was a big rundown of all the shows I've been interested in all winter, and I'm definitely enjoying it. But I'll call it here for today, and I'll see you next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.